Stand aside, my good men.
The prince opened the casket and applied a loving kiss. For long moments, nothing happened. But then...
Who? Wait, I sound like a boy. Who are you? What happened to my voice?
We're having spontaneous sex changes here on
Yay!
Don't touch me there.
And so they were married. And when the evil queen...
Wait.
Oh, we skipped
You missed a line.
80, little line 80.
I am Prince John, and I know who you are. You are the woman I have dreamed of for all my life.
Thank you.
The woman I... What?
Not you, Mommy. You're talking to me.
The woman I shall make my bride if you will have me.
Oh, got a blast. Oh, I mean, yeah, okay. I will. I'll have you.
Yay!
I'm used to this, okay. And so when they were married, and when the evil queen, Idina Menzel, I said it right this time. When she attempted to attend the ceremony, the prince had her seized and thrown in the dungeon.
Do you, Prince John, take this woman to be your bride?
I do.
Cool. And do you, Snow White, take this man to be your groom?
Sí, vamos a casar.
Amen. I now pronounce you man and wife. You may kiss the bride.
And so they lived happily ever after. A fine job, distinguished cast. And this script, if you saw the actual script, it's very boring and everything they added to it. It's one of the ways writers get a lot of credit in this business because the voice actors improve stuff we do. You should leave them alone as much as possible. Cast, let's talk
For
about...
your own safety.
I would like each of you to tell me a story briefly about someone you were really impressed that you worked with in a session. Pick one person that you can't believe you got to be at the mic opposite and tell us about, you walked into the session and there was... Wally, you want to start?
Yes, we were talking about this out in the hallway earlier, that if you want to be a voice actor someday and you want to learn how to use your voice in a myriad of different ways to convey a myriad of different meanings and emotions and to communicate different things, pick up the record John and Marcia by Stan Freberg.
John.
This guy is a genius, and he can take 2 words and tell a whole story just by the inflections and the intonations of how he says the words John and Marcia. That's a 3-minute crash course in how to do voiceover, because unlike on camera, you can't raise an eyebrow or blink an eye and convey a meaning. You have to do it with your voice, with hesitation in breath or something, or you have to hear the grit in your teeth when you say. So you have to do that all through your voice. And Stan Freberg is one of my all-time favorite. I used to be a Dr. Demento fan, still am, and listen to his radio show all the time. Freberg was on there all the time. Now, June Foray, another great legend, played his wife in a Garfield episode, and they both had a scene with John Arbuckle, my character, so it was Stan, June, me, Stan, June, me, Stan, June, me. So there I'm sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, this is amazing. It's Rocky the Squirrel and it's the John and Marcia guy. This is so cool. So we did one take, and then Mark came on the talk back and said, okay, Wally, Stan, June, go back to scene. I was like, well, after that I heard nothing else. After Wally, Stan, June, did I just hear my name in that grouping of amazing people? So this really is an amazing industry where dreams come true and you can work with the most amazing people that you grew up loving, and you find out, hey, they're just working stiffs like you are and they love doing what you do, and you sit down and you have a soda and you laugh and you tell jokes and tell stories, and Freeberg's got the greatest stories. I love stories. June's got the greatest stories. So God bless both of them, and we love them for all they've done. So that's my story.
2 years ago, I got to escort June Foray to the Daytime Emmy Awards, where she received her first Emmy Award at the age of 94. Who was the announcer at the Emmys that...
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
Yeah.
The Emmys are about to... Yes, June for A1! Yes!
Candy was the announcer, and she will test that June got the only standing ovation of the evening, and it was amazing, the whole crowd. And as I was walking her out, this black guy came up to her and said, grabbed her hand, and said, "I want to tell you, you're the most important voice I heard when I was growing up in my childhood." And June said thank you, and she didn't know who it was. It was Kevin Clash, the voice of Elmo, and who probably at that moment had the most well-known voice to the new generation of kids. So.
And June would not have had that Emmy had it not been for this man nominating her.
No,
So thank you,
would not have
Kevin.
that Emmy if she hadn't been doing 50 years of quality work in the business.
Exactly.
Anyway,
As a woman.
yes. Candy, who have you worked with?
My very first job was actually my first audition was for Tiny Toon Adventures way back when I had a waist. And I actually auditioned for it at the old Hanna-Barbera building, and I was pleased to leave the booth and have Steven Spielberg take his head out and said, "You should do this for a living. Very good." And I thought, well, okay, if you say so, can I be in one of your movies? So time passes, and I am in the room with Mel Blanc before he got very ill. And I played the little bird sweetie. Oh my goodness. And we did The Telltale Heart. And I walked in one day without knowing, and there was Vincent Price. And that to me was the greatest moment, because at that time in my career I was making a transition from on camera, meaning seeing me, to this crazy world where I actually belonged, which is behind. I really belonged where I am. And if we pick up our oars and let the canoe go, life will take you exactly where you can be. But he did the most ridiculous takeoff parody dialogue of The Raven, Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven. And all I screamed out was, "Nevermore!" And he would do the Midnight Dreary. And he had an oxygen tent. And I remember just sitting there watching him in the presence of Hollywood royalty, and I realized pretty much the same thing you did, Wally. We are all just actors. I had a lot to learn from him, but we sat in the room, and when he was finished, he said, "Very good job, young lady." And I thought, I just love you so much. And that's my fabulous, and there are many others, but that's my epic Hollywood moment.
I don't know how much time trouble we are or are not in, but happily and humbly, I have too many to choose from, but hands down.
When you met me?
Yeah, there was that, and that was great. But hands down, Mel Blanc. When I was the new kid, or one of the new kids, I was blessed to be in the booth at Hanna-Barbera, setting up for the next panel coming up in an episode of what was then the New Jetsons. I was Curly Quasar, and I had a blind date with Judy Jetson, and maybe it was written by one of the people coming up. And I was seated next to Mel Blanc, and Gordon Hunt did that on purpose, and he said, "You're not here by accident, you're here because you belong here." And I was seated next to Mel, and I could have died happy that day. You know, it was a dream come true. I spent my entire childhood with my hands on my fists and my elbows on the floor, staring at my TV set every Saturday morning, and I don't have a greater hero in the world as far as what was important to me. I mean, obviously there are all manners of hero, but in my cartoon world, in my cartoon dreams, to have that realized. And I've worked with so many of my cartoon heroes, all of the ones Wally named, but you know, sitting at Hanna-Barbera next to Mel Blanc. My God.
Greg,
you know.
Greg, tell about what happened when Mel fell asleep.
Here we go. no, that day, sweetly and deservedly, Mel fell asleep during that session, and Gordon gently woke him from the other side of the glass and said, Mel, Mel, Mel. And I, in my real life, saw Mel Blanc wake up as Mr. Spacely and went from a dead sleep, sweet sleep, to awake like this. Jetson! So I have that. That happened.
When did all the magic happen at Hanna-Barbera? Two of my three were there. I was walking into the first session of the Addams Family cartoon, and Carol Channing was sitting there. It was pretty amazing to be in the same room with her, and we were in the recording booth, and she always would bring her tea, thermos, and I'd always go out and get cookies and coffee and crap, and she'd drink tea and good things for her, and she fell asleep too, and Gordon had to wake her up. He must be really good at that. He was full of dignity, Miss Channing, and she woke up. And then one time when we were recording with Carol again, somebody runs into the booth and they said, "You'll never guess who's here! You'll never guess who's here!" And we were like, what? They were like, "Come down the hall." So we broke session and we ran down the hall, and Jonathan Winters was there. I didn't know what to say then, but I did. He was speaking English. I know he was speaking English, but I can't tell you what he said, and I don't remember. I don't know what he said, really. It didn't make any sense to me. It was funny, though. But I didn't understand one word he said. It was really funny. I don't know, do you think Hanna-Barbera just does that to us to give us experiences? Wow. And then, of course, the final one was me getting to work with Seth MacFarlane last week, and I was just trying hard not to pee my pants on the other side of the glass while he was directing me. That was like a bucket list thing for me, and I'm trying to act all cool, like, yeah, I told him, okay, yeah, and inside I'm like, ah! That was it. But it's amazing how many people I get to go and meet. Like that time we were at Jimmy Neutron, remember, Candy? And then Mel Brooks was there, and they told us that we weren't allowed to have him sign anything at all. And afterwards, we all stood in line to go shake his hand. They're like, "No signatures, don't even ask him." It was so exciting. Okay, that's all. Thanks for listening.
Everybody mentioned Seth MacFarlane is cool. I really do like Marie. He's awesome.
The coolest.
He really is. He's hilarious.
One of us.
Yeah, right.
And a little bit cute.
Never seen him mad. He never gets angry.
Money will do that to you. She looks great. She's 90. Yeah, money will do that.
But you mentioned Stan Freberg, Phil Proctor for me. He's a Fireside Theater guy. That was huge for me. Chuck McCann has been on a few times. Tim Conway was unbelievable. And he's so great. He still will audition. He'll show up. He's like, "I'm 82. I'm going to play a frog today. I guess that's what I'm doing." He was a blast. Also Frank Welker, who we always talk about, who we're all friends with. But he's one of those guys you just watch at. He never ceases to amaze me. The first time I met him, apparently a bird had entered into the studio. And when I'm looking for this bird, I'm hearing, this whole thing, and it's Frank just playing. Frank, nice. I'm trying to do a Frank Welker impression. Hi, how you doing? Good to see you. Yeah, that's the best I can do. There's just so many. Jonathan Winters is another guy we talking. Jonathan Winters is amazing. I read his Winter's Tale, this book he'd written, and I said, I really love, the work. He did this artwork, he wrote these great stories, and he launched into a whole thing like, well, yeah, when part of your career dries up, you got to do another thing. And I hate it when the old people can't use the pump right, so I have to go out and explain to them how to put the gas in. He did about 20 minutes of being a gas pump guy. And I was like, wow, you're for real. You're really that guy. All right. It's too many.
Fred.
We had Jonathan. Wait, you wanna-
Fred, sorry, do you remember when Tim Conway came to the Garfield session that first day? We're all sitting around and we're all like,
That's what I'm
Tim
talking
Conway's
about,
Tim.
exactly.
Yeah. And Tim Conway, and we finally get around the circle to Tim Conway's like, hi Tim, what are you going to do today? He's like, oh, I don't know, I came to see my proctologist. Am I in the wrong place? Apparently in the wrong room.
We had Jonathan Winters on one of the old Garfield shows. We had Jonathan Winters at one time, and he was so funny, and he wouldn't leave. We finished the cartoons, and he wouldn't leave, and I'm directing, and I'm supposed to, my job is to say, thank you, Jonathan, please leave, and he wouldn't leave. He's doing this brilliant routine. He was doing this routine about the last holdout, a guy in World War II. The last guy who was he was so proud that he shot down Bob Hope's plane. And he just saw the cue cards fluttering to the ground. And I had to cut this, and finally I thought to myself, I know what to do. Muppet Babies was recording next door to us. I said, hey, Muppet Babies is over there. And he goes, oh, okay. And I went and let him go in and destroy their session. Remember that, Greg? You were arrested on that session. Who else did you work with that you were impressed with?
As I started my career learning to do voices professionally, I also worked comedy clubs in sketch comedy scenes, and we used to do something called Celebrities People Court. And this was just on stage because there's also a story of doing voiceovers and meeting some people that really knocked me out. And this particular week, I was doing Robin Williams as the celebrity judge. And I was like, yes, is Robin Williams here? Good. Okay, next. Our next case, come up to the court. And then I hear from the back of the room, oh no! And I just froze. And Robin, who had his leather jacket on because I thought he left the room, happened to still be in the back of the room. And he walks up to me, and I'm looking at him, he's looking at me, and did about 5 minutes on me, like, oh, that sure looks like a Puerto Rican test tube pattern. I'm like, yeah, well, look what you wear. But so he, all I could do was just stand there, because no matter what I would have said back to him, he would have just topped me 10 times over. So that was meeting somebody like that. Another time I was at a club, I was doing, just throwing out a few voices.
And I started to do Andy Kaufman from the Taxi. And the next man to come up was Mr. Tony Danza.
And so Tony was there, but he was just all over me, and I couldn't believe that, because he was like, oh, I'm so glad that you went into that Andy thing, because I didn't have anything to say. And I was like, well, here you are, and talk to everybody, whatever. So that was meeting people along the way up, and then when I finally realized I hit one of my dreams, it was at Hanna-Barbera as well. I was part of the Hanna-Barbera's 50th anniversary celebration. I studied with Dawes Butler along the way, and Dawes had passed away shortly before then. It was this compilation of some tributes to their characters, and they needed somebody to be Augie Doggy and Baba Louie. And so my voices apparently matched good enough to be put into this show. And as I showed up for the session, standing at the mics waiting for me to come up was Gene Vanderpyle, Janet Waldo, Don Messick, Henry Corden, and I think Alan Melvin was there too. But these were all the people, what do I do? here I am, and all these are the people that I watched growing up. So I did my best what I could do.
Doing Augie Doggy, saying, oh yeah, and John Stevenson was there too, who played my dad. And of course Baba Louie, that they put into the show for a very little bit.
So I was part of that troupe at the time, and it's still out there running, but that just knocked me out to this day.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Greg, being my good friend, has given me a segue into the next panel. If you want to stick around for a few minutes, we're going to change over it'll take about 3 minutes to change over. We're going to kind of take you back to the early days of Hanna-Barbera and the Jetsons and the Flintstones and those shows. In the meantime, would you join me in thanking Mr. Greg Berg for the Cabot Show.